Welcome to the Los Borrachos Happy Hour with your host, three-time fantasy champion, your new commish, Los Borrachos.
What up, what up, what up? Fucking week 4 here. Finally, let's move on. Thursday. Tonight we got Cowboys Giants. So if you got players there, make sure you move them into their starting lineup, not leave them in your flex, just in case you need some flexibility. No pun intended, I guess, if that's a pun. But yeah, I'm gonna go over the top 10 at each position, go over standings. I'll go over each matchup, give you guys kind of what I think. Slow advice. Again, take it or leave it, up to you. Just something that you could think about and shit like that. But yeah, let's get into it.
Here are the top ranks in each position. Brought to you by Yahoo.
All right, and we're gonna start off with the quarterback position. So at number 1, we got Kyler Murray. Number 2, Josh Allen. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. 5, Jaden Daniels coming up. Number 6, CJ Stroud. Number 7, Joe Burrow. 8, Patrick Mahomes. 9, Dak Prescott. And number 10, Jared Goff. Um, so yeah, Jaden Daniels jumping up. I'm sure it's because he's playing Arizona. Um, that's the only surprise here is Jaden Daniels climbing up to number 5. But I mean, yeah, no turnovers. He got that shit done last week against the Bengals, Cincinnati. Cool for him. Putting in that work. Um, Fucking Marco, second season. I think last weekend he had Anthony Richardson. This one, Jane Daniels. I mean, so far Jane Daniels looks way better than Anthony Richardson. So good shit, man. Good pickup. I think picked him up late. I think not that late because I usually would get him in the 11th or 12th, and I think he grabbed him a little sooner than that. Um, Jalen Hurts against Tampa Bay. I don't know, man. That guy's been struggling. Struggled last game. Um, People are talking about that he's not the same guy, especially not running the same offense and stuff like that with his coordinators gone. Um, CJ Stroud maybe come back against Jacksonville. I mean, we saw Josh Allen light them up, so he should be good. Um, Joe Burrow coming back finally looks healthy, I guess. But that was the Commander, so Mahomes against the Chargers. I mean, Mahomes hasn't cleared 20 points in a while, so or barely clears 20 points. So, uh, Goff versus Seattle. I don't know, man. Seattle's a pretty tough defense, so I don't know if Jared Goff's going to be able to throw at him. So, and Kyler Murray, number 1, obviously up against the Commanders. They're allowing a lot of points to the quarterback position. So, but yeah, those are the quarterbacks. All right, and now the running backs. And first we have Saquon Barkley. Number 2, Brees Hall. Number 3, Derrick Henry. Number 4, Bijan Robinson. Number 5, Jordan Mason. Number 6, Jonathan Taylor. 7, Alvin Kamara. 8, Jameer Gibbs. 9, James Conner. And 10, Kyron Williams. Saquon, number 1 against Tampa Bay. Again, fucking Tampa's been getting ran over pretty much this whole season, so I think he should do well. Brees Hall against Denver. Denver gives up on the run. Derrick Henry versus Buffalo. That'll be a little bit of a tougher matchup for him, but I mean it's Derrick Henry. He's at home. I mean, if they feed him the ball, then yeah. Hopefully they don't get down and then they start putting in Justice Hill. Um, Bijan versus Atlanta. I mean versus New Orleans. Tougher matchup. I mean, but Bijan, he's also a pass catcher, and they give up a little bit to the pass catching running back. uh, I mean, Saquon was able to, break off a huge run. Bijan, I think he could do the same thing. Maybe cut off a few runs, but it's gonna take a bit. Jordan Mason versus New England. I mean, Zach Moss ran all over them too, so I don't see why Jordan Mason wouldn't be able to do that too. Jonathan Taylor versus Pittsburgh. That's gonna be a little bit tougher because Pittsburgh's pretty solid defense, so might struggle a little there. Alvin Kamara versus Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's not a tough defense like that, and I mean, hopefully he's healthy because he's dealing with some hip joint thing, and some rib. So I mean, hopefully he plays and that's a good matchup. Jameer Gibbs versus Seattle. Seattle has a pretty good run defense, so I mean they shut down Achan last week. But I mean, you got Gibbs and Montgomery both, so and they're a solid squad. James Conner versus Washington. You start everybody versus Washington. Kyron Williams versus Chicago. Tough defense, but I think Kyron Williams could do it. You know, he's most of that offense, plays a pass catcher and all that stuff. So I think he'll do good against Chicago. So let's go to wide receiver. All right, and on to wide receiver. So our first one, we got C.D. Lamb, 2 Jamar Chase, 3 Justin Jefferson, 4 Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 Rasheed Rice, 7 Nico Collins, 8 Malik Neighbors, 9 Chris Godwin, and number 10 DK Metcalf. So yeah, C.D. Lamb against the Giants should be a good matchup for him. Jamar Chase came back to life. Um, Again, that was against the Commanders. We'll see how he does against Carolina. Justin Jefferson at Green Bay. Uh, if he doesn't get shadowed by Alexander, we'll see how that goes. Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Washington. We just saw Jamar Chase blow up against them, so hopefully the same could be for Marvin Harrison Jr. Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Seattle. They have some pretty good corners there, but I mean, if Laporta sits, that'll be more targets for Brown. Rasheed Rice versus the Chargers. I mean, he's been Mahomes' guy this whole season already. Got a lot of targets, moving up. Um, so he should do well against the Chargers. Nico Collins versus Jacksonville. Again, like I said, just saw Josh Allen light them up. I don't see why CJ Stroud wouldn't be able to do that with Nico Collins. Malik Neighbors versus Dallas. I mean, if they start running all over Dallas and then they don't need to be throwing, I don't see how he gets one of those big games, but he should do well. He's their number one target, their only target. It's just Daniel Jones if he's able to get that ball out. It'll come down to the Dallas defense. Chris Godwin versus Philly. I mean, Godwin's been solid all season, so he should do good against Philly. DK Metcalf at Detroit. You could throw on Detroit. Plus, DK Metcalf have been doing fucking solid most of the season. A lot of long bomb touchdowns, but even then, like he's solid for it. We'll go into the dreaded tight end. All right, and now to get into the shitty tight ends. Number 1, we have Brock Bowers. 2, Trey McBride. 3, Dallas Goddard. 4, Dalton Kincaid. 5, Jake Ferguson. 6, Travis Kelce. 7, Sam Laporta. 8, Kyle Pitts. 9, Isaiah Likely. And number 10, Mark Andrews. So, yeah, Brock Bowers, I mean, hopefully he could do it against Cleveland. I mean, I don't know how that game's going to go. Both shitty teams. I mean, hopefully that pep talk by Pierce lights them up. But I'm gonna keep my expectations low for Las Vegas players. Trey McBride versus Washington. It'd be a great matchup. I mean, hopefully he plays. Usually they say when you get a concussion, you miss a game, but I mean, who knows? Dallas Goddard at Tampa Bay. I mean, he's the only one left. Everybody else is out. I doubt AJ Brown plays this week, and they have a bye week. I think week 5, so they might just save him till week 6. And Devontae Smith's dealing with a concussion. Like I said, they miss a game. Kincaid versus Don Kincaid at Baltimore. I mean, he got a touchdown last. That touchdown saved him last game. So hopefully again, it's good for some targets. Hopefully it's a shootout and they just go back and forth. Jake Ferguson versus New York, the Giants. Again, hopefully they have to throw in that game and he'll get some points out of that. Travis Kelsey at Chargers. I mean, he usually lights up the Chargers. He's been struggling all season. Maybe this is his comeback game. Number 7, Sam Laporta. If he plays, I mean, he's still dealing with it. I doubt he plays. I think they'll sit him, and I mean, it's a long season. Uh, Kyle Pitts against New Orleans. I think New Orleans is okay against the tight end position. I mean, they just gave up 40 points to Goddard. Isaiah Likely and then Mark Andrews, both of them at Buffalo. Buffalo's solid, so and it's more of a roll of a dice. See who gets those targets in that game. If they try to shut down Mark Andrews, Likely would be open if they, or even if they throw at all. But yeah, let's go on to DSTs. All right, and last but not least, the DSTs. Um, Number 1, we have Pittsburgh Steelers. 2, San Francisco 49ers. 3, the New York Jets. 4, Kansas City Chiefs. 5, Cleveland Browns. 6, Dallas Cowboys. 7, Chicago Bears. 8, Houston Texans. 9, Miami Dolphins. Number 10, New Orleans Saints. But yeah, Pittsburgh going up against Indy. Like I said, Steelers are a fucking solid defense. Indy, Anthony Richardson is not doing so well, so get some interceptions there. Niners versus New England. They're at home. The Niners are, and should be an easy matchup. Jacoby Brissett's not really much of a challenge. That offensive line is horrible. I mean, they're probably upset because they lost last game, so I'm sure they're gonna come out shooting. The Jets versus Denver. I mean, Denver has Bo Nix, and I know last game I went with the same route with fucking Tampa Bay, but I think the Jets are a better defense. Plus, they want some revenge for Nathaniel Hackett against Denver. Chiefs versus the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers they might start Taylor Heineke, and fucking Chiefs are a solid defense, you know. And the backup with the Chargers, why not? You know, Cleveland Browns versus Las Vegas. Again, fucking Las Vegas, fucking up, man. Thought they would have done it against Carolina, but I could see how it would have went to Carolina with them coming in, change of the guard and shit like that. They were more pumped coming in strong. Um, Cowboys at the Giants. I mean, Giants just coming off that big win against Cleveland. Cowboys coming off that loss against the Ravens. We'll see which one comes out. Chicago Bears versus the Rams. Yeah, I mean Chicago's a tough defense, but I mean the Rams seem to figure it out, man. I mean they won against the Niners. They were able to put up points against them. Uh, Houston Texans versus Jacksonville. I mean, I think Jacksonville gets it together, man. I don't know. It's it's a divisional game, so I think it'll be a little tougher for them. Miami versus Tennessee. Fucking Will Levis always giving up interceptions or sacks or fucking fumbles. So I could see where the Miami defense could do well. New Orleans Saints versus Atlanta. I mean, solid defense. They held Philly to almost no points going into the fourth quarter. Um, but Atlanta's a little scrappy. Again, divisional game, so can be anything, man. So yeah, we'll move on to standings.
This week's Team Standings, brought to you by Los Borrachos.
All right. So the standings for going into week number 4. In first place, we have the Rook at 2-1. In second, Warhammers at 2-1. Third, Los Tanks at 2-1. 4, Los Borrachos at 2-1. 5, Rebel Scum at 2-1. 6 plays Mike and the Boys at 2-1. So 1 through 6, all 2-1. No more undefeated. 7, Nighthawk at 1-2. 8, OG Men at 1-2. 9, the Arab Sensations at 1-2. And number 10, the En Fuegos with 0-3. And compa, the En Fuegos not looking good at 0-3. I mean, pretty much it's how it should be. I think the only one that's up there that shouldn't be is Mike and the Boys at 2-1, but his points are 321, which are less than 7th, 8th, and 9th. If points wise, he'd be in 9th place. Points again, so far, the leader is OG Men with 452 points against him. Second is the Warhammers with 402. But yeah, man. See how it shakes out after this week. We'll go look into the matchups.
League matchups.
All right. Week number 4. Matchups. Here we go. Matchup number 1. Los Borrachos versus Los Tanks. Number 2. Mike and the Boys versus Rook. Number 3. Nighthawk versus Rebel Scum. 4. OG Men versus the En Fuegos. The Arab Sensations versus the Warhammers. Yeah, just 2 matchups where 2-1 teams play off against each other. We'll see who moves up and who stays as far as that 1 through 6. The En Fuegos will get their first win versus OG Men this week. Will OG Men overcome injuries and win and move up? But yeah, guys, some good matchups. We'll take a look at them and see what advice I could give you guys.
Ready, fight.
Right. In our first matchup, we have Los Borrachos versus Los Tanks. Los Borrachos projected at 122. Los Tanks projected at 126. Los Borrachos is starting Josh Allen, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., B. John Robinson, Jordan Mason, Don Kincaid, Chuba Hubbard, Juwan Jennings, and the Jets defense. Los Tanks is starting Dak Prescott, Tyreek Hill, DJ Moore, Kyron Williams, Alvin Kamara, Jake Ferguson, Amari Cooper, Jordan Addison, and the Dallas defense. Los Borrachos, Josh Allen, good matchup against Baltimore. The stack with him and Kincaid should be good. Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Washington should be a solid matchup for him. Like I said, Jamar Chase put up some big numbers against him. I don't see why him and Kyler Murray can't do the same. Brian Thomas versus Houston. I mean, he's been decent. He's been one of the top targets. They might talk about getting him more involved instead of Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis not doing shit. Bijan Robinson against New Orleans, a little tougher matchup against the run, but I mean, you're not sitting Bijan Robinson. Jordan Mason versus New England. It's a pretty solid offense. Pretty solid defense, but they're good against they're not that good against the run. I mean, that Kyle Shanahan offense does well. Like I said, Kincaid against Baltimore, they're okay against the tight end. I mean, Jake Ferguson just lit him up last week. Chuba Hubbard versus Cincinnati. I mean, Brian Robinson put up some solid numbers against them. I don't see why Hubbard shouldn't do the same. Plus, he catches the ball too out of the backfield. Juwan Jennings, I mean, I don't expect another 50-point game, but he should have a solid game against New England. Gonzalez will be on Ayuk most of the game, so I don't see how Juwan Jennings doesn't put up another solid stat line. Jets versus Denver. Again, Denver with Bo Nix and everything. Let's see. I mean, maybe I picked up Patterson just in case it comes to the wire that what's his name Najee Harris can't go because of the sling, because he had a sling on his shoulder. I'd start him. Indy has a horrible run defense. Um, Tajay Spears has been solid for like 10 points the last games that he's been healthy, that he finished. Fucking Zamir White let me down, so I'm gonna put him on my bench for now and see if they do something with him. I guess like I said, Pierce was talking about whatchamacallit, changes happening and shit like that. For Los Tanks, Dak Prescott, like I said, should do good against the Giants. I think there's a stat that said the Cowboys haven't lost to the Giants since 2016. That's crazy. And yeah, in the last season, I think they put up 40 points on both times that they played the Giants. So we'll see. Hopefully not, but hey, ya que. Tyreek Hill versus Tennessee. It's gonna be a tough matchup for him, especially if it's Tim Boyle or even Huntley. But I'm sure they'll get him involved. That's their best player on the team, so he should maybe like an end around. That's the thing where it's like one shot and he could fucking catch a bomb for like 80 yards and fucking house it. But we'll see if maybe Tennessee takes a book from Seattle and shuts them down. DJ Moore versus the Rams. I mean, if Keenan Allen comes back, I don't know if it'll affect him a little more. I heard he's practicing in a limited basis, but we'll see. Kyron Williams versus Chicago. Like I said, Kyron Williams like all their offense, so he gets the catches and the run, so should be a good game for him. Alvin Kamara versus Atlanta. Like I said, he's dealing with that injury. Hopefully, he does well. So, I mean, hopefully he could play and is not limited by it during the game. Jake Ferguson came back, put a solid stat line against Baltimore. Against the Giants, I don't see why he can't do it. And he picked them off waivers too. That's some fucking shit. Mari Cooper versus Las Vegas. I mean, Cooper came back after having shitty like 2 games. Uh, I was telling you, if he didn't do it against the Giants, then that fool was washed. Against Las Vegas, I think he should do it. I mean, we saw Deontay Johnson do it, but that offensive line is what is going to see if Crosby plays. It might be a little hard for him to get the ball out to him. But yeah, I mean, it's a solid matchup. Fucking Las Vegas sucks, but Cleveland sucks too. So we'll see from there. Jordan Addison first came back, I think. From what I hear, they might ramp him up slowly, but I mean, he's a good wide receiver, and Sam Darnold throwing the ball pretty well, so I think he should do okay. Dallas versus the Giants, like I said, they beat him like 40-3. I think was the first time they played last year, and then the second time it was like same thing, 49 to I think like 14 or something. So I mean, hopefully, but I mean, they have been giving up points pretty much all season, so I don't know.
Ready, fight.
In our next matchup, we have Mike and the Boys versus the Rook. Mike and the Boys projected 128. The Rook projected at 133. Uh, Former first versus current first place. Uh, let's see. Mike and the Boys starting Jared Goff, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Brock Bowers, T. Higgins, Devontae Adams, and the Cleveland defense. The Rook is starting Patrick Mahomes, Nico Collins, DK Metcalf, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Kyle Pitts, Chris Godwin, Aaron Jones, and the Houston defense. Mike and the boys, Jared Goff. I mean, like I said, they have a solid defense. Seattle does. They're doing better this year. Plus, Detroit just kind of wants to run that down ball and control the clock. At least that's how it's been the last few games. That's why he hasn't put up points and shit like that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. CeeDee Lamb. I mean, hopefully this is a get right game for him. He's been okay. Touchdowns have saved him the first few weeks, and then last week when he didn't score, kind of see what you that's what you would kind of get if without those touchdowns in the first few weeks. But he should do right against the Giants. I mean, their corners are so, and I think their main one isn't playing this game. Stephon Diggs was a Jacksonville. I mean, could be a sneaky shootout between Houston and Jacksonville. Divisional game, might be a lot of back and forth. I think Stephon Diggs gets some of those. I mean, he did last game. Tank Dell's dealing with like some hand or whatever injury, so should do well. Stephon Diggs. Josh Jacobs versus Minnesota. Minnesota has a tough defense, and plus Jacobs is sharing touches now with Emmanuel Wilson. I'm telling you, man, fucking LaFleur just can't stick to one guy and let him fucking run it. Even though Jacobs was doing pretty well the last few games when they gave him the ball, gotta mix in motherfuckers. Maybe it's the back because I know he's dealing with a back injury. But yeah, just temper expectations, as they say. David Montgomery finally starting him, huh? Yeah, fucking solid. David Montgomery gives you double digits every week against Seattle. Like I said, tough defense, but the Lions have a solid offensive line that they could run all over Seattle if they want to. Brock Bowers, I mean, he's getting the targets. He'll get the targets. Cleveland's a tough defense, but I still will fucking start him. I mean, I don't think Kittle's starting or coming back this week. T. Higgins, I'm always iffy about T. Higgins. That fool's injury prone. He'll play. He'll give you one solid game. This might be it against Carolina, but then after that, it's just like he'll deal with an injury or he doesn't show up. Devontae Adams versus Cleveland. I mean, again, targets. He's getting the targets, but we'll see how healthy that Cleveland defense is. I know Myles Garrett was injured and a few linebackers were fucked up, but if they're back to full health, I think they could do pretty good, and maybe they'll get to Minshew and maybe garbage time. Devontae Adams will get some targets. Maybe Jerome Ford against Las Vegas instead of T. Higgins. Darnell Mooney, he's been solid. I mean, with Kirk Cousins checking it down since he doesn't have time to pass the ball like that. Maybe. But yeah, those are my only two. It's Jerome Ford and Darnell Mooney. Just take the names away from it and see with production wise, man. Don't just fall on the name. The Rook, Patrick Mahomes, Nico Collins. Well, Patrick Mahomes, you know what I think about the man. Hasn't put up, and then it's a divisional game. They might just run the ball, especially if the Chargers are starting Taylor Heineke, and it turns into like they don't put up points. They're just gonna run the ball, run the clock, and get out of there. Nico Collins versus Jacksonville. Like I said, probably sneaky shootout, and he's always preferred. I think they said last game they were trying to get him a touchdown for the game. So they like threw it to him like 4 times. I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch the game. I don't have no Texan or Viking like that. So DK Metcalf versus Detroit. I mean, he's been catching long bombs, and Geno Smith looks okay. Like I said, Detroit has a solid run defense, so they'll probably shut down the run and make them throw the ball, which they can. Um, Jonathan Taylor versus Pittsburgh. I mean, tough defense, but I mean, you don't sit Taylor. Start him. Hopefully, you get some running room and shit like that, and maybe gets you one of those like 1 yard touchdowns. Saquon Barkley versus Tampa Bay. I mean, like I said, with Devontae Smith, AJ Brown out, he's the only one left. Him and Goddard are left, so he should put up a solid number against Tampa Bay. He did it against a tough New Orleans defense, so I don't see why he shouldn't be able to do it against Tampa Bay. Kyle Pitts versus New Orleans. Like I said, New Orleans has a tough defense, so maybe doesn't have enough time. Checks it down to Kyle Pitts. Maybe just peppers him with targets. Godwin has been solid all season. I mean, why wouldn't you keep starting him? Aaron Jones revenge game against Green Bay. Minnesota has been solid all season. I'm sure they just want to run the ball, control that clock, keep Green Bay on the sidelines, and but I think he should do well against Green Bay. I mean, they shut down Tony Pollard, but I think that had to do more with Will Levis than Tony Pollard. Houston defense versus Jacksonville. I don't like playing a defense against when it's divisional because those games could go like fucking crazy. But I mean, why not? Bills just shut them down. I don't see how Houston can do that. Yeah, no one on your bench. I'd want to start over the guys you have already starting. Singletary could be a good start, but I mean, I wouldn't put him over any of the guys you already have starting. I mean, first place for a reason. Like I said, solid starting lineup and pretty solid bench there too. Like Charbonnet, he did well the last game. J.K. Dobbins, I mean, I don't think he's gonna do what he was doing the first 2 weeks. Jaden Reed, I mean, once Love comes back, I think he'll do well. Singletary, like I said, I think everyone's running on Dallas, so I don't see why he wouldn't be able to do that. Jameson Williams, like I said, now that Laporta's down. Actually, now that I just got a notification that he's working off to the side. So I mean, maybe he'll play, but I don't think he's healthy like that. Quentin Johnson, I mean, like I said, if Taylor Heineke plays, I doubt he'll do anything. But yeah, I mean, good luck to you, Foos. I'll go to the next matchup.
Ready, fight.
Next matchup, we have the Nighthawk versus Rebel Scum. Nighthawk projected at 120, Rebel Scum projected at 128. Uh, the Nighthawk is starting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, James Cook, Travis Kelsey, Tyler Lockett, Tank Dell, New Orleans defense. Rebel Scum starting Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, James Conner, Devon Achane, Pat Fryermuth, Tony Pollard, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and the Chiefs defense. Good pickup, man. So the Nighthawk, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, the stack versus Carolina, should do well. They did pretty good against Washington, as they should have. But yeah, I mean, like I said, resurged Carolina defense. What's his name? Something Horn is their corner. I mean, if they take a book out of what Commanders did at the end of that game, where they put a safety on top of Chase, maybe. But looks like Joe Burrow is back to throwing and doing well. Um, so it should be another solid week for them both. DeAndre Hopkins versus Miami. I just don't trust Will Levis. I mean, last week it was him over Calvin Ridley, but who knows? Maybe it's Calvin Ridley this week. I just don't trust that offense. But I mean, if you don't have anybody else, um, Derrick Henry. I mean, against Buffalo, they did okay against Travis Etienne. But I mean, if they keep feeding Henry, and then with the threat of Lamar Jackson, I think he'll do well. What you don't want is for them to get down, and now they're throwing, and Justice Hill steps in, and Derrick Henry gets game scripted out. Uh, James Cook versus Baltimore. Baltimore has a pretty solid run defense. Um, so yeah, it might be hard for him, but he catches the ball out of the backfield, and I mean they get him involved as much as they can. Travis Kelsey, maybe the get right game for him. I mean, Derwin James because just got suspended. How convenient, NFL, that they suspend the one guy that would shadow Travis Kelsey before. Um, but like I said, if it's Taylor Heineke and the Chiefs just kind of shut him down, I doubt they're going to throw like that. So maybe another down game for Kelsey. Tyler Lockett versus Detroit. Like I said, they're probably going to throw in that game. So, I mean, Tyler Lockett got some good targets last game. Maybe they want to keep him more involved. Maybe run more 3 wide receiver sets with him there. Tank Dell dealing with a hand injury. I mean, like I said, this might be a sneaky shootout, but it seems like he's the odd man out in that trio where he's like the third option. New Orleans against Atlanta. I mean, solid defense. I said kept down Philly. Almost won that game. This divisional game, so we'll see. I mean, maybe Bucky Irving if he's healthy. I just saw some report about him. Whatchamacallit? Something with a hamstring. So that sucks because he looked like he was putting up some points. Eckler, I mean, he looked solid last game. I mean, sucks that he's out. I mean, Romeo Dobbs, but I mean, Love's supposed to start, but I don't know. That's been more Jaden Reed and a lot of running. Keon Coleman got his first touchdown. Maybe you get some more touches this next week. Maybe over Dell. Yeah. I mean, maybe Gasicki over Travis Kelsey just so you get some points. I mean, maybe just a stack of Burrow and Chase will keep you afloat in case the other guys don't put up. Let's see. But Tank Dell plays in the morning. Yeah, I mean, if let's say in the morning games don't do well for you, maybe switch out Lockett and go with upside with Worthy or Coleman. Just something to think about. As for Rebel Scum, got Lamar Jackson versus Buffalo. Like I said, it could be a shootout, or I mean, with Lamar Jackson running the ball, he could run for about 100 yards. Justin Jefferson, I mean, solid. That was always putting up points. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like I said, if Laporta doesn't play, more targets for him. James Conner versus Washington. I mean, no better matchup for him. You just saw Zach Moss put up good points for him. I think almost 20 points. Devon Achan versus Tennessee. Tougher matchup. Like I said, they might just focus on shutting down the run and letting Tim Boyle try to beat him on the air or something like that. Fryermuth versus Indy. I mean, I think he did okay last game. I think he got hit. I think he's the reason why Edward James got suspended, because I think he led with the head or something. But yeah, he's put up some solid points. Tony Pollard versus Miami. They should do well. Miami sucks against the run. We just saw Zach Charbonnet put up some points against them, and he's not that good. Jackson Smith and Jigba, like I said, I mean, could be a throwing game for them, and he was solid. I think he earned like 10 some, like double digit targets last time in New England. Against Miami, they didn't really have to throw. They just kind of ran it with Charbonnet, so that's why he didn't get involved. Chiefs, like I said, Tyler Heineke, whack, and fucking Chiefs have been solid, and they've played Lamar Jackson and Kirk Cousins, who was putting up points against Philly, and then Burrow and Chase shut them down. Yeah, good call on Stevenson on the bench. Like I said, that offensive line is not so good. Najee, I mean, I think if he does, I mean, I don't want to say sit Achan, but I mean, I think Najee Harris has a better matchup. Maybe Evan Ingram if he comes back, which I doubt. I think they say he's still dealing with it. But yeah, no one really on your bench that I'd start over anyone on your starting lineup. Just, I guess, with Achan, temper expectation. But I'm sure Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown could kind of cover you in case. Same thing with Nighthawk, like I said, if but he plays in the morning. Although you don't have a upside player to start it later on in the next games. But yeah, that's pretty much, can't really give you much advice. You're 2-1, fifth place. Solid team. So yeah, good luck to both of you.
Ready, fight.
Next matchup, we have OG Men versus the En Fuegos. OG Men projected at 114. The En Fuegos projected at 111. Our lowest projections of the week. And will the En Fuegos get their first win of the season? Or will the OG Men bounce back with all those injuries? OG Men starting Anthony Richardson, Devonta Smith, Michael Pittman, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Mark Andrews, Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson, and the Tennessee defense. The En Fuegos starting Jalen Hurts, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rico Dowdle, Cole Kmet, Carson Steele, Jalen Waddle, and the Baltimore defense. So OG Men starting Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson not doing shit. And then now he's going up against a Pittsburgh defense that's been solid against oppositions this year. I mean, to each their own, I guess, but it's not looking good for Anthony Richardson or Michael Pittman, who hasn't done anything this whole season. Richardson, I think, had that good game for week 1 against me, and then after that, he's just been garbage. Devontae Smith, like I said, concussion protocol. Usually, it lets It makes him miss 1 week. I don't think he'll play this week. Um, Kenneth Walker should play, but damn, comes in at a bad time against a tough Detroit defense. Joe Mixon, I just got a notification of his that he's not practicing and looks like he might not play this week. Him and Damian Pierce. That's tough. Mark Andrews against Buffalo. I mean, hopefully, like I said, turns to a little shootout. Mark Andrews plays and gets some targets, I guess, back to his old self. Um, Calvin Ridley. I mean, maybe this week he puts up some points. Maybe Ramsey will shadow DeAndre Hopkins instead of Ridley. It all depends on Will Levis. Will get enough time to get him the ball and be able to throw the ball. Deontay Johnson coming alive with Andy Dalton. I don't see why he doesn't keep it going against Cincinnati. I mean, Terry McLaurin just lit them up. I don't see why they don't see tape and see that they could do the same thing. Yeah, Tennessee against Miami. Like I said, if it's Tim Boyle or any of those, I don't think Tennessee's being a stout defense. I think that'll keep them in check. I think Keenan Allen's supposed to come back. I wouldn't start Carr against Atlanta. Tough defense. Maybe Kareem Hunt will start this week. Cause yeah, like I said, Devontae Smith probably won't be there. Yeah, man. I don't know. A lot of so-sos on your bench here. I just don't see Keenan Allen coming back and like putting up big numbers against the Rams. He's getting older. He's dealing with that foot problem. I mean, if he plays, maybe he plays a little bit, then he gets re-injured, comes back out. Now he only gave you like one catch or something. That's the problem with these older wide receivers. I mean, maybe Justice Hill, like I said, could be a sneaky shootout, and he ends up putting up some solid numbers. I mean, you'd have no choice because if Mixon doesn't play, you'd have to throw in a running back, and it's between him and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt just got signed, but I doubt they give him a ton of touches straight off the bat. And if they're gonna be in control of that game against the Chargers, I think it'll just be more Carson Steele at that point. Mm. Yeah, maybe Conklin. I think he could do well against Denver. I think Denver's allowing a lot of points to the tight end position. Plus, that offense looks like it's clicking a little more. Dusting off that rust of Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, man, that's pretty much all I could give you with what you have. That would be my advice is Hill. I mean, not like you have a choice, I guess. I guess with Mixon. But with Mark Andrews, like I said, Conklin, get yourself some points from there. Don't just end up with a 0. Obviously, you're probably gonna have to start Keenan Allen because, like I said, I don't think Devontae Smith is gonna play. How concussions play, and you're gonna have to start Pittman because you don't have any other wide receivers on your bench. I mean, there might be some guys on the waiver wire you could take a flyer on that have a good matchup, and you could start and get yourself some points out of that. But yeah, the En Fuegos, Jalen Hurts struggling. I mean, not all his weapons are gone. All he has is Goddard and Saquon Barkley. But then Saquon Barkley just runs it for like 80 yards and shit and doesn't give you anything. Like I said, they're saying he's struggling, man. He's not that player that he was a few years ago because his coordinators are gone. New offense hasn't really clicked with him. Chris Olave versus Atlanta. Have that tight end. I mean, that tight end, that cornerback that's pretty good. Forgot his name, but he probably shadow him. Brandon Ayuk versus New England. Like I said, he probably get the Gonzalez shadow. Saw what happened to Garrett Wilson last game. I mean, he still got the touchdown, but I mean that was Aaron Rodgers being able to lay it in there. I mean, maybe they'll try to get him more involved. Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said, solid offensive line, should be able to run all over Seattle. Rico Dowdle, it looks like I said, I heard they were saying he took over that backfield last game, so he should do well against the Giants. Cole Kmet versus the Rams, that should be a solid. If Keenan Allen comes back, I don't know about Kmet, just because those are like the routes that he kind of runs, which are the down the middle, in the middle routes. Carson Steele versus the Chargers. Like I said, if they get up big on him, I'm sure that he'll just run the ball, run the clock out. So he should be solid against the Chargers. Waddle, I don't know, man. I think, yeah. I mean, at least you'll know if Brown plays, you have him by that morning. If he plays, fuck it, slot him in. If not, if what's his name? If Love plays, I mean, I'd take a flyer on Watson. Why not? I'd start Kyler Murray over Jalen Hurts. I mean, Kyler Murray has been lighting it up. I mean, he's been putting up 17, 37, 19. Jalen Hurts, I think, only had that 1 week. Yeah, 25, 28, and then 15. I mean, if you had played him last game, he would have, I think that would have won you the week. I don't know, man. Just because, like I said, these 2 games, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, then he loses both of them and 15 points. Yeah. That'd be my, like, just Kyler Murray over Hurts. I know it's tough to sit Hurts because he's like your number 3 pick, but you got to take away the when you drafted them and just go off of their production. And like I said, maybe sit Waddle, man. I don't know if he'll do well, especially if it's Boyle or Huntley or some shit. I think their main focus would be to get HN and Tyreek Hill more involved. But yeah, because he didn't do anything last game, I believe. So, yeah, 6 points. Well, I mean, he's been declining. Well, the Buffalo game, it was Tua got injured, so yeah. That's 6. Just because, like I said, Watson could catch a bomb from Love, like in that first game against Philly. And, but I mean, maybe you get AJ Brown back. Maybe he pushes through it just because he sees that Hurts doesn't have any weapons. Yeah, man, tough stuff when you don't have your main ones, which is AJ Brown and Trey McBride. But yeah, man, good luck. Hopefully that first win, or hopefully you overcome these injuries and get another win. I mean, good luck to both of you.
Ready, fight.
Warhammers. The Arab Sensations projected at 128 versus the Warhammers projected 121. The Europe sensation is starting CJ Stroud, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Travis Etienne, Brian Robinson Jr., Sam Laporta, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, and the San Francisco defense. Warhammers is starting Jaden Daniels, Mike Evans, Rasheed Rice, Brees Hall, Zach Moss, Dallas Goddard, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, and the Pittsburgh defense. For the Air sensations, CJ Stroud, like I said, should be solid against Jacksonville. I think last year he lit him up, but new season, guy with some tape on him. We'll see how that goes. He's at home, but he has some good weapons, so I think he should do well. Garrett Wilson, he's going to get that Patrick Surtain shadow. So just keep that in mind. Temper expectation. Drake London versus New Orleans. He'll get the Lattimore cover. So temper expectations. Travis Etienne versus Houston. I mean, we just saw Aaron Jones light him up. I don't see how he can't do it. Maybe they'll do that. Try to establish the run a little more, and then that way they're throwing could help out. Brian Robinson Jr. versus Arizona. I mean, Kyron Williams blew him up. I don't see why he wouldn't. That offense is doing pretty well, so I don't see why he wouldn't get those touchdowns too. Sam Laporta hasn't done so much, but I mean, also he's injured, so I don't know if he'll go on Monday. Just keep out a look on that. Malik Neighbors, I mean, he's being solid, targeted a lot. I don't see why he can't put up those numbers that he keeps putting up. Roman Dunze, I think he should be fine even if Keelan Allen shows up. Looks like Caleb Williams looks to him. I haven't seen much of the Chicago game, but that's what I keep hearing. Niners versus New England should be a good matchup for him. Let's see. Maybe put Malik Neighbors up there. Garrett Wilson plays what? They play in the morning. I was gonna say if he doesn't do well, maybe you could put an upside like Tutu Atwell, but they both play at the same time, so you wouldn't be able to just slide them into your flex or anything. But like I said, yeah, that's my only is Garrett Wilson. Like I said, if you want to put as much points as possible, I think Tutu Atwell might give you more of a chance of that high upside. That would probably be my only suggestion is Garrett Wilson. Maybe pick yourself up a tight end instead of Calvin Austin the third, just because he caught a garbage time touchdown. Just saying. Warhammers, Jaden Daniels, solid against Arizona. I said a bit of a tougher defense than last game, but he should do well. Mike Evans versus Philly. I mean, I'm sure he'll get the Darius Slay shadow, but I don't see why he wouldn't be able to beat him on a few deep bombs and stuff like that. Rasheed Rice versus Chargers. I mean, he's getting peppered with targets, so I don't. So he'll do good. You start him. Brees Hall, same thing. You start him. Doesn't matter the matchup. Zach Moss versus Carolina. He should do pretty good. Like I said, with the threat of Zach Moss of Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow throwing the ball. I think it'll open up some lanes, little lighter boxes, and he could take advantage of that. Goddard, like I said, it's only him and Saquon Barkley in that offense now, so he'll probably get peppered again with whatchamacallit, targets. George Pickens has been pretty much solid all season. It's just he gets these matchups where he either they don't have to throw or fucking he gets a shadow. But this one against Indy, I don't think it'll be a shootout. So, but I think he'll do his projected. Terry McLaurin versus Arizona. Like I said, that could be a sneaky shootout between both of them. Jaden Daniels and McLaurin stepped it up last game. So I think he'll do good too. And obviously, Steelers defense number 1 against Indy. Yeah, no one. I'd really start anyone over anyone you have starting on your bench and shit. I know you have Shakir, but I mean, I wouldn't start him over anybody else you have on there. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, second place, good shit. We were projected to be at the bottom, and here, look at us. Look at us. We're here at the top. But yeah, good luck to both of you. See how it goes. All right, and that'll do it for me this week. Good luck this weekend. Those of you that need a win, those who are on a winning streak, let's keep it going. Yeah.
Thank you for watching the Los Borrachos Happy Hour. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time,